All right, thanks for jumping on. After watching the tape, kind of like what I said in the post-game press conference, nowhere near good enough. Really, really, really disappointing to perform like that yesterday. Very surprised by it after the preparation we had during the week and the focus that we had. So certainly have to be better. And a new week that we're just had the afternoon like we always do on Sundays, meetings and lifting to put this game to bed and move on, and getting ready to get on the practice field and get busy getting ready for next week, where we certainly need to play a whole lot better than what we did yesterday, perform a whole lot better, players and coaches. After looking at the tapes, some guys that we thought did play well and gave us a great chance to win defensively. Judge Collier, Jalen Kilgore, and Nicky Manvori played really well in the secondary. It's a talented group of receivers that Ole Miss has. They made a lot of competitive plays, 50-50 balls, played with great technique. They were challenged, there's no doubt about it, and those guys really stepped up and responded. They did a fantastic job. And then up front, all those guys I thought at defensive tackle played well. Bogey, Tonka, TJ, but particularly TJ Sanders played a lot of plays yesterday and was very active and productive. And then Tonka Hemingway played his rear end off yesterday. Got a lot of guys that played with great effort, and Tonka was one of them. And then special teams wise, Gerald Kilgore did a nice job on all of our units. So got to get better. Nowhere near good enough yesterday, and eager to get back to work. Questions?
Hey, Shane, it's Dave. Is there an update on O'Donnell and Dale Vaughn and Jared Brown?
Yeah, we'll have all that, Dave, when we release our availability report on Wednesday night.
And also, after you look back at the film, Shane, just some of the offensive struggles, was there one overlying issue that you guys didn't do well? Was it a combination of things? Just what were some of the main problems that leaked out?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. Was it good enough? No, absolutely not. When you score 3 points, it's nowhere near good enough. And we ran the ball decent. I know with the sacks, the rushing yardage comes down, and the yards per rush comes down. But on called runs, we were productive and hit some things in the passing game, but nowhere near productive enough there, not good enough on third down. But overall, I think it was, a thing here, a thing there. Everybody had a hand in it, starting with me as the head coach. But I think the underlying theme probably would be just, details. We've got to be more detailed in everything that we're doing, whether it be techniques, assignments, route depths, how we attack certain leverages, you name it. Just got to be better there.
Hey, Shane, with Robbie, was he in the plans to play more, and did the fumble kind of take him out of that, or what was what did y'all have in mind for him yesterday?
No, we did. We wanted to get him in there. Part of it was, Lenore's health. Lenore's practice, and we knew he was going to play, but we also didn't want him to, take too much of a pounding and carry the ball more than he needed to. So we were going to play both to, try and help do what's best for the team. And we felt like that was an opportunity to do something to kind of help both of them out and help our offense. Lenore's got in there and was feeling good and was rolling pretty good, so we were hesitant to take him out. And certainly we wanted to do a little bit more with Robbie, and not that we're shunning him after the fumble, but that was a disappointing play where we need to be better, and that limited a little bit what we did after that.
Going back and looking at the sacks, I think there were several that Ole Miss had when they just rushed with three. Were some of those coverage sacks, or where were maybe the breakdowns on those plays specifically that you guys saw in looking at the tape?
Yeah, there's a couple of them where there's one in particular where number 4 got us, where he fooled us a little bit, where we had our eyes on him and had him, and he acted like he was not coming and started to drop. And then when we took our eyes off of him, he came and got us on one of those towards the end of the game. That was disappointing because, that was number 4. It's kind of one of the things he does, and we had talked about it, and obviously didn't do a good enough job of emphasizing it, where our guys were more on the lookout for it. A couple of those, you guys saw it, were runs where Lenoris was getting ready to take off, and their guys 2 of them, I think, did a good job of retracing and tripping Lenoris up before he could get out of the pocket and run for some positive yardage. So it was a combination of things, and certainly, when he has to scramble or starts to run and there's not pressure, there's a clock in his head, and had guys that maybe weren't open when they needed to be.
Hey, Shane, just going back to yesterday, you said you have a better answer tonight on accepting the penalty on the Kennard sack. Did you see anything different there when you watched that sequence back?
Yeah. Initially, we missed the sack, and the quarterback got back closer to the line of scrimmage. And then as he scrambled, whatever you want to call it, he went backwards more. And poor job by me. Should not have accepted that penalty. My thinking was getting them farther away from field goal range. Their kicker in pregame warmups, he was hitting field goals from the 40-yard line, which would be essentially a 57-yarder. So essentially, that on my part should not have. Was thinking it was going to be more closer to 2nd and 11 than it was 2nd and 17, and that's just I wasn't good enough there. I usually ask the official, okay, tell me exactly what the down and distance is going to be here. I did that when there was the play down there on the goal line or end zone where they were coming out towards the end of the game where we declined that penalty. We had a communication, and I was just probably too, I don't want to say rushed, but needed to be better there as far as what the actual down and distance was going to be. But I saw him initially. I thought he initially looked like he was sacked closer to the line of scrimmage. He got out of that sack and ended up going down again, and not good enough on my part.
Shane, I had one kind of clarification question on the end of the half. What was kind of the approach? I think you guys turned down a 10-second runoff when they were kind of up against it time-wise. What was kind of the thinking there and kind of, holding on to, I think it was like maybe 30 seconds left when you had the ball?
Yeah, I don't think they were up against it time-wise. I believe it was 30 seconds, and it would have been 20 seconds, and I think they still had one timeout, and they were like on the 1-yard line. So, I mean, to me, you can run a play, call timeout, probably get to the line of scrimmage and run 2 plays without having a timeout because of where you were. My thinking was we were losing at that point. I wanted to save time for our offense to generate a 2-minute drive. We talked about it offensively and defensively because we knew for that whole – I think they reviewed that play, if I'm not mistaken, before that, obviously, to see if he got in. I think that's the one. So, I mean, we were sitting there literally talking about it, myself and the coaching staff throughout what do we want to do. And in the end, I decided to I thought the time was more important than the timeouts from our standpoint. So I decided to use the timeout, keep the 30 seconds on there. Not conceding a touchdown to them because we've seen our offense, we've seen our defense make goal line stands. But okay, if they score, that we still now have. If they score in the next play, we have 30 seconds and a timeout, which in my mind is plenty of time. And we had a drive going, and then we took a sack, and the half ran out. But that was my thinking on that one. Basically, just they're in prime position. They're not. If it had been, no timeouts left in 10 seconds, I think that's a different story. But one timeout and 22 seconds, to me, they're in a pretty good position right there to be able to get points.
Gotcha, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Shane, it's Jordan. You guys only threw, I think, one pass that traveled over 20 yards. I know Ole Miss was playing, some soft coverage. How do you go about this week of making sure there are more chances for downfield shots?
Yeah, we've got to be willing to take them and call them and throw the ball down the field. And then if teams are going to play soft coverage and try and keep everything in front of them, we've got to be able to throw and catch and break tackles. And we didn't have enough explosive plays yesterday in the run game or the throw game. You know, one of the keys to the game was tackling. Our defense needed to tackle well, and I thought for the most part they did compared to the LSU game. But all along those same lines, we got to be able to break tackles, and we didn't do enough of that yesterday offensively. But which we're going to have to if teams are going to say, okay, we're going to play soft and play the edges and defend the run game and make you drive in the field to beat us. We've got to be able to throw and catch, break tackles, and create explosives that way, which we can. We have capable guys. And then we also just can't say, okay, they're playing loose coverage. We still got to be able to, run past people and go up and make competitive catches on 50-50 balls, which we've shown that we can do also.
Hey, Shane, it's Sean. I don't anticipate, I don't expect you to dive into deep detail, but if you could, can you kind of explain how you address penalties after a game, after the fact? Is there, do y'all do more than just talk about them in the meeting room, especially with things like unsportsmanlike conduct? Is there any kind of repercussion after the fact?
Yeah, we hold our guys accountable and address it within the program, and we do it within team meetings, unit meetings, position meetings. Practice-wise, it's something that playing smart football is one of the 5 ways that we win football games around here, and we did not do that yesterday, and it certainly cost us, and we've got to continue to look at how we're emphasizing and teaching all the self-inflicted things that happen to us.
Hey, Shane, wanted to ask, it seemed like they got you guys a couple of double moves. Is a lot of that just they were so reliant on hitches that you want to be aggressive on those, and then they kind of counter the counter a little bit?
They know we're aggressive, and that's how we play defense. We're going to get up in your face and whatnot as well. One of them was more of like a stutter and go or hitch and go. We didn't play with great technique on that one. And then the other one was the slant and go over there on their sideline. I believe that was the second one, and that one was a little bit more of a miscommunication between the corner and the safety as far as what was going on, and not quite being on the same page. But certainly the way we play defense, we know you're going to get that. We know we're going to get that. We talked about it, and that's something Ole Miss does. We knew that. 19 for them is a really good double move runner. All those guys are. So it wasn't a shock that they did it yesterday. And certainly those are 2 plays that we'd like to have back. Because overall, beyond that, played pretty good in the secondary on those 50-50 type balls.
Shane, Dave again. After you have kind of a poor performance on any side of the ball, as a head coach, is it difficult to kind of tamp down your frustration and address it to where patience may be the best move, to not knee jerk and make drastic changes? I don't even know if that was an option, but how do you kind of talk yourself through that and say, hey, it was one bad day and we'll get better?
To me, you look at the whole body of work in my mind, and it's games. When I talk about body of work, it's practice, it's the week, and looking at everything. But certainly when you have a performance like that, not just offensively, but overall, we thought we had a real edge on special teams, and we did not perform well from a special teams standpoint yesterday. And that's disappointing. So you look at everything. So certainly, thought a lot about it last night, and I think I walked into our facility this morning at 5:15 a.m. and I've been sitting here ever since. I meet with the offensive staff on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., and I meet with the defense at 11:45, and then we have a staff meeting at 12:30. So I wanted to make sure I got in here in plenty of time before I met with the offensive staff at 11 a.m., and we certainly had a very thorough meeting. You look at everything, but realize that yesterday was nowhere near good enough, and we got to be better.
Hey, Shane, it's John again. Kind of a big picture question for you. Some of the results in college football this year have been kind of crazy. Teams look starkly different from one week to the next. It seems that way to me. Would you agree with that assessment? And if so, what do you think has brought that about more so this year than maybe any other?
There's great parity in college football now. With the portal, teams can change can change yearly, obviously, but there's parity because of the portal. You see a lot of true freshmen out there on a lot of different teams, and to me, it's always been that way in college football. That any Saturday, anybody can beat anybody, but I think it's really true now. At the end of the day, you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old young men that people see them in South Carolina Gamecock football helmets and jerseys, or Alabama helmets and jerseys and uniforms, and sometimes forget that they're 18, 19, 20-year-old young men, and that we only have 4 hours a day, and the other time they're, on social media hearing about how great they are, or hearing about how great the other team is, or how terrible they are, and things like that. And I just think it's the mind's a powerful thing, and it's a different time, but I think it's great for college athletics. And I was looking at it today, if I'm not mistaken, every team in this league has a conference loss except Texas, LSU, and A&M. So are the only three teams in this league that don't have a loss, and two of those teams have only played one conference game. So, we're not where we want to be right now. We didn't expect to have two losses at this point. I've had two games that we lost that, we can look back on and realize that we got a lot of things to fix ourselves, and this is a new week, and told our team we'll be judged by how we respond to the adversity we faced yesterday. But I know the guys that we have in this program, they're invested and hurt from yesterday, and my job as the head coach to help them be better. So that's what I'm going to do right now as I head to practice. Y'all have a great Sunday night. I'll see you Tuesday.